Hi, this is Liz with Big Tex Worms and WormBinComposting.com. I wanted to do a little scientific study this winter, and I want to share it with you. As you know, if you've looked on my website to come to buy worms, that I highly recommend going with a starter bag of worms over worms by the pound. And just to explain a little bit about what that means is, a starter bag of worms is a pound of worms plus 4 to 5 pounds of active worm bedding, and the active worm bedding is going to have castings in it, it's going to have eggs in it. It's just basically I scoop up their home that they're used to, and that's what you start your new bin with, is that starter bedding. Whereas if you were to buy a pound of worms, what you're going to do is you're going to start your own bedding at home, and you're going to use, if you use my recommendation, you're going to use either 50% peat moss. I'll let this truck go by. 50% peat moss or 50% coconut coir, and then the other 50% you're going to use compost or manure. And then you're going to just dump your pound of worms that you get shipped from me in your coconut coir. You're going to dump them into your new bedding, and you're going to let them start on that bedding. I consider a bin that you start with your own bedding with the pound of worms to be like a sterile bin. It takes the worms time to kind of make it their home. Whereas when you start with a starter bin or starter bedding, then they're already used to that. So that's why I recommend it, because I think you just have a better rate of success with using the starter bag. But what I'm going to do this winter is I'm going to do an experiment and see which one really does work better. So I'm going to start with half a pound each, and on this bin over here I've got coconut coir and goat manure. It's already composted. I've been composting a long time. And then I have half a pound of worms here that I'm just going to dump into the top here. You can come over here, my camera person. I'm just going to dump that half a pound in here, and then I'm going to leave the lid off and let them go down for about a day. And then I'm going to start feeding. And then over here on this bin, I'm going to use my starter bedding. This would be what, if you do a local pickup, you're going to get it in a bucket like this. If you do it online, I would ship it in a bag. This is actually a full starter bag, so I'm just going to mix it up, and I'm just going to dump half of it into this bin here. So I'm going to take about half of it. And I did measure a pound of worms in this bucket before I started, so roughly half a pound in there now. So as you can see, they look pretty similar here now. I'm going to feed them the exact same materials over the winter. I'm going to feed pumpkin, and I'm going to feed cracked corn, and I'm going to use coconut coir as my added bedding that I'm going to use in these bins. And then in a couple months, probably like in February or March, I'm going to dump out the contents of the bin. I'm going to harvest, and we're going to see which bin has more castings and which bin has more worms, so we can do a little study. So stick with me, and I will give you some updates. I'll probably do one update this winter, probably at the end of December, early January, and then I'll do another update in late February or early March when we harvest the bins. All right, thanks for joining me.